Hello there, Tom here from the Run Testers with another running shoe review. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at the Xtep 160X 1.0 running shoe. Let's take a look. The Xtep 160X 1.0 costs £93.18 or $125, and it weighs in 192 grams or 6.8 ounces for men in a size 8. The Xtep 160X 1.0 is a lightweight carbon plate shoe designed for racing and faster training. It features a full-length carbon plate, an X-Dynamic foam PEBA midsole, and a mesh upper. There's increased cushioning in the heel section of the shoe, a healthy level of outsole rubber to protect the midsole foam and add grip, and it comes in a range of designs. So the fit for me in the Xtep 160X 1.0 is true to size, although it is quite a narrow shoe. There's not a lot of space in the forefoot and the midfoot, so it's quite a tight lockdown fit. It was fine for me, but if my foot was any wider, I think I would have issues with this shoe. So worth paying attention to if you do have wider feet. Xtep may not be a brand you've heard of previously, so I was quite interested to see what this budget carbon plate running shoe was going to be like. So I have seen a few people test it out with mixed results. So I've done 40k in these shoes so far. About 20k of that was around easy pace. So for me, that's about 430 kilometers. And then I did a 10k run where I ran interval sessions in it to see how it did at my top speed, which is probably around 310 kilometers. And then I did a consistently fast-paced run where I ran at almost my race pace that I do for 10k, which is probably about 410 kilometers at the moment, maybe about 4.5. And from all of those runs, I've actually been moderately surprised by this shoe. When it comes in at the moment, I have found that the price varies a bit from week to week, but at the moment it's on sale, which I think is one of those things where it's always on sale, for £93, which is pretty cheap price when you're looking at carbon plate shoes. There's not many of the carbon plate shoes around at the moment that come in at that price. So I expected this to be not a very good shoe, to be honest. What I actually found was it's all right. It's not amazing. It's not going to blow your mind when it comes to running at faster paces. It's clearly modeled on the sort of Vaporfly style shoe. It looks a little bit like an old version of a Vaporfly. All the way through to the outsole design there. It looks quite similar to how Vaporfly have designed their shoes as well. So it feels like it's trying to be a Vaporfly shoe. It isn't a Vaporfly shoe. What I've actually experienced from the 160X 1.0, there's another one, there's a 2.0 as well, which I haven't tested, is that it's quite a nice lightweight racing shoe. And that really is all I'm getting from this shoe overall. If you were to compare it with most of the carbon plate shoes out at the moment, like the Vaporfly or the Alphafly or maybe the Asics Metaspeed Sky, it doesn't feel like those shoes. The carbon plate that sits in it doesn't have the rigidity of those plates. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of propulsiveness in it. Basically, you can barely feel the carbon plate in it. It just feels like a normal lightweight racing shoe. That carbon plate is very, very subtle. But also, it doesn't have a lot of bounce from the foam either. It's fine. It doesn't feel particularly soft. It doesn't feel particularly bouncy or responsive. But it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. I think the shoe that I liken this to most would be the Saucony Endorphin Pro 2. I haven't actually tried the Pro 1. The Pro 2, it has that sort of level of cushioning which is slightly firm. There's not a lot of bounce in it. You don't really feel the cushioning. And same goes with the plate. With the Endorphin Pro 2, I don't feel that plate very much. I don't particularly enjoy the Endorphin Pro 2 very much. I'd much rather wear one of my softer, bouncier cushioned carbon plate shoes for a race. But this feels a bit like that. It just feels like a good lightweight racing shoe that maybe has a little bit more rigidity in the midsole due to the carbon plate, but that's about it. At those slower paced easy runs, it did a fine job. It was very comfortable. I definitely didn't mind it, and it did feel like I could run at a faster pace, much like something like the Endorphin Speed shoe, which I love using for training efforts, whether that's daily training or whether I'm pushing it a bit faster, I'm going towards more tempo speed. It's very similar feel to this shoe, apart from the you don't feel the plate in this shoe like you do in the speed. So yeah, for daily efforts, feels fine. I could definitely happily use this shoe if I was doing 10Ks up to half marathon training runs, and it would be fine. I wouldn't have an issue with it at all. I haven't used it for a race yet. I'm not entirely sure if I want to use it for a race because it just doesn't feel like it's got enough in it to justify me wearing this for a race. I just don't think it's got the tech in it to make me wear this shoe above any of my other super shoes. So I probably wouldn't say it's a great race shoe. Although, if you didn't have a carbon plate shoe alternative, this is probably a good option for racing. I'm comparing it with all the other carbon plate shoes I've got. But if you're just looking for a lightweight racer, it does the job. It's quite a fast, nippy little shoe. It's very comfortable, and I think you could use it for racing if you wanted to, but it's not going to compete with the other carbon plate racers out there. The fact that it has a carbon plate in it actually makes this shoe just seem a little bit worse than it probably actually is. If you hadn't told me it had a carbon plate in when I started using it, I probably would have come back and said, well, that's a really nice lightweight racing shoe. I really enjoyed running in that. It was very comfortable and I felt I could pick up a nice pace in it. As soon as I know that it's got a carbon plate in, suddenly I start to realise that this is a shoe that is punching above its weight when it comes to the technology that it's got in it, because it's not really comparable with any of the carbon plate shoes at the moment. So yeah, it's an alright light racing shoe, but it's definitely not. If you're looking for a carbon plate shoe and you're trying to find a cheap budget alternative to a Vaporfly or Adios Pro, it's not going to do it. You're not going to get the same feel that you will get from those shoes, and it's probably not a good investment if that's what you're looking for. Having said that, if you just want a lightweight, fast tempo shoe and you're not particularly interested in a carbon plate, this probably will do the job. It's as good as most of my other lightweight racing shoes and feels fine when you're out there picking up the pace. So if it was marketed just as a normal lightweight shoe and didn't have a plate in it, I think it would be fine. One thing I do like about it is there's a really good level of outsole rubber, which seems to be doing a really nice job at protecting the shoe. The midsole foam that's in there, it doesn't seem... there's no signs of wear or tear on it yet, but it does seem like a very delicate foam in there. It feels almost polystyrene-y in its design, so I'd be a bit worried about the durability of that once that rubber disappears. But they've thought about that, and they have put quite a lot of rubber on it. And also, I went running in these earlier, did a 10k in them, and it was quite wet. The grip's really good on these as well. I had no issues at all with grip. The upper's quite nice as well, actually. The breathable mesh upper feels very comfortable for me, and also feels quite light on the feet. It's I didn't really notice it. Definitely didn't make the feet hot, but it also provides quite a nice lockdown fit for me. So for those faster runs, I think this does quite a good job in terms of fit and comfort. I had no issues with it at all from the first run where I put them on. Another thing that I noticed specifically about this shoe for me is that there's a lot more cushioning in the heel than in the forefoot. And I'm a mid to forefoot striker, and I noticed that there wasn't a lot of cushioning in the forefoot. I'd like there to be a bit more in this shoe to make it more comfortable for my runs. It's not a major issue, but it just, when you get to those later kilometers, when you're running, you can kind of, if you're a forefoot, midfoot striker, you can feel it. There's not a lot of protection there, so I'd like to see a bit more than that. So my verdict on the Xtep 160X 1.0 is it's fine. It's not going to blow you away. It's better than I expected. When I put these on, I was thinking, and from the looks, it's not a nice looking shoe, really. I was thinking that it's probably not going to be a very good shoe at £93 because it's got a lot of tech in it, carbon plate and that Piba midsole foam. It sounds like they've probably saved some money somewhere to produce a shoe that costs that much, but has that much performance tech in it. Really, it's not that bad. It's a lot better than I expected, and to be honest, I would say at that price, it's not a bad shoe at all. It feels like a nice lightweight racer, and I'd be happy to train in this shoe at faster paces and maybe race in it if I didn't have any other carbon plate or race shoes that I preferred. I think the real problem with the shoe comes in to who it's targeted for. I imagine at one side of the market, it's those people that want a carbon plate shoe, but they're not prepared to spend £180, £200, £250 on a carbon plate shoe. And they see this and think, wow, I can get a carbon plate shoe with the same benefits that I get from those shoes for £93. that's a bargain. I could probably buy a pair of these and a pair of daily training shoes as well to go with that. I don't think it's not going to fill the hole left by those other carbon plate shoes. It's really not in the same league as those when it comes to performance. And if that's what you want and you really want to see what a Vaporfly is like, or you want to try out the new Asics Metaspeed Sky, this is not going to cover you for those shoes. What you get from this shoe and how it feels is nothing like most carbon plate race shoes out there at the moment. And if I was to run a race in this or run a race in one of those shoes, the extra bounce and the extra softness in some of those shoes, the carbon plate responsiveness, it's all so noticeable, which you just don't get in this shoe. But alternatively, if you say to me, is it worth £93 for a shoe that I want to do faster training in? Yeah, it probably is. It's quite a nice shoe, and £93 compared to a lot of the other shoes around at the moment is pretty cheap. The other thing I would say is, if you are looking for a cheap, lightweight racer, don't be swayed by the fact that this has a carbon plating, because I think there's lots of other shoes out there at the moment that come in at around the same price as this, but they don't have a carbon plate, and they still do the job probably as good as this one does for faster paced efforts. A good example is the Rincon 3, which I'm currently using as my sort of favourite all-rounder shoe and running at faster paces. And this comes at £105. Doesn't have a carbon plate. It's got a lot more cushioning in it, and I get a very similar feel to both of those, apart from the fact there's just a bit more cushioning in this shoe. Durability isn't great on the Rincon range, but I don't know much about the durability on this shoe yet, and I can't really find out much online about it either. So I don't know what it's going to be like with this. I wouldn't like to say much, but I'm guessing this midsole foam is a little bit struggling when it comes to durability. But that's just from looks. I don't know if that's actually the case yet until I've done quite a few more miles in it. So that's it from me. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click that little bell. It really does make a difference. Check out the channel for all the other videos we've got from the latest road and trail shoes, as well as the latest watches and headphones out at the moment. Thanks for watching. See you later.